Hello everyone, welcome to the Connecting the World show, and I'm your host Muniem Rizvi. Tonight we had a guest from Colombia, and her name is Lucero. Lucero, what she do? I will tell you about herself. Like she's a psychologist, she's a specialist in international cooperation and project management for development. She had done a lot of experiences in volunteer management, event management, and social entrepreneurship. Currently, she is an executive director of the Catalina Muñoz Foundation and regional coordinator in Colombia for One Young World. Without any wasting of my time, I'm going to invite my guest, Miss Lucero. Hello, Lucero. How are you?
Hi, Muniem. Very good. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Miss Lucero. You take your some time from your precious time, and it's such an honor for me to have you on my show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me in your show. It's a really nice moment for connecting with people from all around the world in middle of this situation. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, Lucero. First of all, my audience would love to know more about you. Who are you? Where are you from? And what you do exactly in your life?
Well, Muniem, my name is Lucero Muñoz. I'm from Colombia, a country, beautiful country in South America, between the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. I'm a psychologist. I am 29 years old. Um, and recently, in these days, I say I do many things at a time. So mainly, I'm working as executive director of the Catalina Muñoz Foundation. Um, Nowadays, helping with everything we do with the pandemic effects in our country, but also I am the coordinate ambassador of One Young World from Colombia. It's a global youth movement of leaders, and here in Colombia, I follow up many of our young leaders, and I love to cook. That's our main things I do and I love doing.
That's great, Lucero. You told about yourself and like what you are doing right now. You are doing wonderful work, but a different kind of project, like a different kind of project. Exactly. If somewhere you are a psychologist, and then other side you are managing the whole NGO type, and you have experience with different kind of NGOs. So first of all, I would love to know about your studies, your education, as you are a psychologist. From where did you did your studies, and why you did choose the subject of psychology?
Well, it happens that I have a little sister that she has cognitive disease. She has kind of Down syndrome. I don't know how to say in English, but I was just always intrigued by what was happening in her mind. What was she thinking? So I decided to study psychology to understand more human minds. Then, between I was studying, I thought I was gonna do like normal psychologists with patients that you go to a center and you have diagnosed of someone, and not. I realized I love to work with people. I love to work with communities and help them to improve their quality life. So I'm a psychologist, but my field of practice is social psychologist, in which basically I create projects for development, projects for communities to for them to empower themselves to improve their quality lives. I studied here in Bogotá, in the capital. Then I did a here we have a postgrad. It's called with international cooperation, because I understood that this was something globally, that this cooperation between countries was something really important, also to bring funds to Colombia. And then I did a master in social intervention with communities in Spain. It was a really nice experience to learn how they how was their view with this social intervention with communities, the best practice they do in Europe that are similar to what we do in South America, and to learn how to make the best of this knowledge. So that's kind of what I have studied. I have done small studies about finance, leadership, education, and everything. It's just like a complement of what I do now.
That's great. As you told that you have done psychology, and then after that you have done project management, a master's degree in project management. Why you did, like, after psychology you choose this subject? You just become into the management. You came into the management.
Well, I think I'm a really lucky woman because I grew up in a family where we all the time had the opportunity to help others. So, with my parents, I learned how to give others, how to help others. So, this social part of me has been always in me. But one thing is to do it, and another thing is to do it properly, right? So I think something really important is to reach out with the with the academy, with universities, with all these studies, with everything like theoretical part to learn best practices, and also because if you want to create impact and you want results that are long in the time, you need to do it properly in the beginning. That's like what project management can help you. It's the difference between philanthropy and a proper social intervention. Yes, philanthropy, you just go to a community, have a great time with them, take pictures, give them some gifts, and then you leave. But the community will stay as they were as before you went. But with project management, in social field, you can learn how to do a proper project. You can learn how are their needs, how they conceive their needs, and you learn with them how to get out from that needs and transform these needs in solutions. But because it's something you can't do it by yourself, you need the community to work it. So this kind of psychologist has helped me to understand this way people think. It's not the same way how people with opportunity think and how people with disadvantages or poor people think, right? Here in Colombia, I might think it's a global situation, but here in Colombia, poverty is kind of a job sometimes. They're always um, they always are used to ask, and they receive. So it's an easier way to have food, have money. I know it's an easier way. Maybe you can have results in the right way, but there's a long way that it can make you have results in a more long term. And that's why it's important to have this project management. Here it's in the social field, but project management is, I think it's in all sectors of the world, of the economy, environment, etc., etc.
Got your point. Okay, as you did like a deep research on NGOs, like development of non-profit organizations. So how you like to work with NGOs, different kind of NGOs, and you already work with different kind of NGOs, and what kind of NGOs you join? You work with them, like what they are working on, either they are working on youth, or either they are working for women empowerment, youth empowerment, or what kind, or they are working on the SDG goals. So let's tell about your experience with NGOs, and let's do it.
Okay, Muniem, well, something to start is that, as I told you, I grew up with my family doing a lot of social work. So my family created an organization, an NGO. I grew up as a volunteer, like learning and helping as a volunteer because I was really I was small, I was like 12 years or 15 years more or less. Uh, but I realized how it worked, and for me, that was something really interesting. But then, after I finished university, I started working in an NGO that works with creating content for parents, teachers, and educators. Everything about how to prevent and how to make a safer place for kids and adolescents with parents. And something I really got from this experience is that many people do things not because they don't want, it's because they don't know how to. So what we did over there is to, for example, how do we prevent from drug abuse and alcohol abuse? We don't say parents like, hey, this is bad because this study, scientific study says this and this. What we do is we translate into a simpler language, and we explain parents why this was a trouble, so that they could had tools to work with their kids, and to work with the kids and their teachers, to work like with all the community of educative community. I learned in that NGO many things about projects with public sector, with the private sector. And then with when I had experience, I started working as a volunteer in another NGOs with with philanthropic projects, and with projects with sustainable, how do you say English? Sorry, fashion, sustainable fashion, with art crafts production here in Colombia, to learn how we can upgrade it, the designs made by indigenous and native peoples here in Colombia, and how can we promote this fashion with development. This was a really interesting experience. It was short. I could learn many things, as well as communities, as how we can empower communities with their own knowledge of art craft people. And then I start working in the NGO of my family. I start working as a social director, and it was really interesting because before me, of course, they had a lot of experience working in Colombia. We have been working 16 years now, and it's impressive how something that started like with more or less with my mom and a friend, start doing something really small, and nowadays it's something huge. So now I'm presently the executive director, and I think one of the most important things of working on an NGO is to recognize your role in civil society, the role of of ourselves as our as engagement with other actors of civil society. So here's when we work with public sector and private sector. Here we learn how to handle development language with the SDGs. Here with the SDGs for Colombia, of course, we are doing now really hard work with the SDGs, but it's not something from long time ago. So now in our NGO, we work with different SDGs like zero poverty, zero hunger, education, resilient communities, and the most important, the 17 Alliance for Peace and Contribution for the rest of the SDGs. So I think we advocate for many of the SDGs with these main goals. We work, but it's a constant work. It's all day, each day we work for it, we learn about it. And something really interesting, Muniem, is that I work with youth movements. One Young World is a global of youth leaders around the world. It's based in UK, and this movement recognize young people, but young people that are leaders in their field, that are creating impact. So this knowledge of this global movement bring to Colombia has opened my mind to understand, of course, that what we do is something that maybe in other countries are doing. I think, for example, I feel really connected with this space because to showing what we do in Colombia might enlighten what other people want to do in another part of the world, and how, for example, how we conceive poverty. Because I think poverty is the same in all language, in all countries, but how we impact and how we work against poverty might be different, and might be something that complements each one work. So maybe, for example, in Pakistan, what they're doing with this situation can help us in Colombia and vice versa. And I think that has been one of the most precious gifts that working with NGOs and this youth movement have given me.
Got it. Okay, as you tell, you are working on different kind of SDG goals: zero poverty, zero hunger, health, and then education. Like main three or four goals you are working on SDGs, and other than also you are also working. So how you can end the poverty from the world? How you are doing working on that project?
Well, first, we need to understand poverty as not something just related as the income people have. We have to conceive poverty with its different dimensions, just not just like their house, but education, culture, their participation in politic participation in their communities, etc. So first, we need to divide this conception of poverty and then start working on each dimension. In our organization, we work with the housing poverty situation, in which we provide a new kind of houses to people who don't have a proper house in Colombia. Here, people in Colombia lives in wood, in metal, in plastic, kind of bad houses. So what we do is we build a new one with volunteer people. We do it with a lot of donors and volunteers, and that's how we do it. We tackle part by part and not alone. I think one thing that is very important is that to understand our co-responsibility in this situation is not something the community has to deal with, or the public, or, I don't know, the government has to do it. It's a teamwork. Yes, the difficult part is how to learn to work in team. I think that's one of the most difficult parts of this part, because people don't know how to work sometimes in a proper way. Um, but I think if we have the same goal, if we have the same objective, if we know we can complement our work, because I don't know, you can give me funds, you can give me, I don't know, alimentation, food, you can give me materials. We can have a big and a like a bigger and more efficient intervention. So I think, like, just to summarize about your question, is we need to divide the problem and start doing it by littles with many people that can work together.
Exactly. You're right. Like we have to do. First of all, we have to learn, or we have to understand that what is exactly the poverty and how we can eliminate this kind of poverty from all around the world. And we have to start with collaboration with different kind of people, and we have to work on first. We have to work on city level, and then one to one city will move towards one country to another. Okay. Now we'll talk about, as you told us that you work with youth, like how NGOs are working for youth empowerment. Like nowadays in a world, youth is like everything is youth. If someone is doing working, they think about the youth. And like youth, what I think about youth is from 18 to 25, 30 years old.
Well, I think we have many different points of view of the of youth population, of youth movement. First, we need to understand that young people are the most connected people nowadays. Yes, our parents didn't have all the technology and the information we have nowadays. So the first thing is to understand that we have this powerful tool that is technology, but then how to use it in a proper way, right? I think we have seen many big movements online through this month, and it's what we have seen, like people using in a more active way and a responsible way social media, for example. So first is to understand we have this huge tool, we have this huge knowledge, and we have to be responsible with these two things. It's not the same if I know something that is true and I share fake news, for example. So, what I love to do and my passion is to empower communities and empower youth people to learn and be aware of this responsibility, of be aware their capabilities, of be aware of their impact. As I said, in my first NGO work, I learned about parents that they they thought, you might think that they are bad parents, but the thing is that they don't know how to be good parents. That happens as well with youth and leader people. They have the power, the energy, the information, but they don't know how to impact in a good way. So first is to create everything about the soft skills that are so needed today. Um, how can something I think is really basic but important is, how can I believe that I can make an impact? How, as a young leader, I can do it, and also to show it that it's not an easy, it's not difficult way. So here I wanted to attach with volunteer situation. How can we help? We not all the time need money. We not all the time need time. We just need the will to do it. And with youth movement is to create awareness of this will of helping others, and again doing it with others. We don't need to continue working by ourselves. It's just if we are a group of with the same interests, we can do it a faster and better work. And this is Muniem, sorry, I will move forward with the volunteer part, because it's the same what happens. People don't do volunteers because they think they don't know how to do it, they don't have time to do it, or they don't have money to do it. And you just need the will of doing it and the opportunity. If you if you find the cause that moves you in the world, it could be animal environment, fashion, poverty, education. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the cause, but you have to find that cause in which you feel comfortable and passionate about it, and then as start creating and suggesting these ideas of change. So, for example, in our NGO, we work with corporate volunteers and youth volunteers. Here we work different and basic skills we need volunteers to develop. For example, people need to learn how to work with others. People need how to hear others. They need how to learn to communicate with others. And also they need to learn how to be flexible when something doesn't go out as they planned. I think these skills volunteers need are useful for life, and this is why it's so important to continue doing it. As an NGO, we are an NGO that provides these activities for volunteers. So people who want to build houses can build houses, who want to paint houses can paint houses, but it's just to understand the main basic skills that are going to be needed to be a volunteer. And if, for example, if it's a young if it's a young volunteer, for more reason it's important to work in these skills so that they can be the leaders of tomorrow, or inclusive, or the leaders of today.
Exactly. Now, last question from my side is also for a volunteership. Like a lot of people register them as a volunteer, but when there's a time to do a volunteership, they don't do in a serious mode. They just went there, spend the time, and they came back. So, does it affect to an NGO or an organization for those they are going to as a volunteer?
So, can you, sorry, Munir, can you repeat the last part?
Like a lot of people go to the volunteership and they want to do as a volunteer, but when they went to on a field as a volunteer, they don't do work in a serious mode, like they are not serious in a volunteership. Does it affect the an NGO or an organization for them, they go as a volunteer, because a lot of people watching them as a member of that organization or NGO. Your mic is off. Kindly turn on your mic.
Sorry, sorry. Definitely Muniem. I think, and it's the first time someone I hear this topic, and I think it's really important. You know why? Because people think that doing volunteering most of the time is to go and paint or to go and take a picture with a kid and play with it, and it's okay, of course, but it's not just that. So we have two sides here. We have the part of the NGO who creates everything to have a great volunteer experience that will help a community. We can never forget that. Our main goal is the community. Our path is the volunteer. So I think there has to be a job with NGOs in which we can make conscious of volunteers that they are um, I'm going to try to say in English, but they are the tool NGOs use in a good way to impact communities. And it's I, as a volunteer, understand that I'm a tool, a really useful tool. My impact is going to be better. But if we don't make this awareness in volunteers, of course, they won't do a good job. I mean, it's not that they're doing a bad job, but they're not going to recognize their role, their big role. So when we have volunteers that maybe they think this it's a soft situation, or it's a really one day activity and that's it, it affects us, yes, because we don't create for example, what we used to live in our organization in Colombia is that we make everything, we rent a bus, we pay food, lunch, everything, and then they don't appear the day of volunteer. So that's money we lose, and as NGO we don't have many money, right? So sometimes volunteers are not conscious about that. They're not conscious about the responsibility that as NGO we give. But that gives us another answer, is that as NGO we have to work harder to teach them, to give them the tools so that they can understand their role, their importance of their commitment, and that this is again something in which we are all co-responsible of it. And at the end is that you are not benefiting, you are not helping the NGO, you are not helping the volunteer, you're helping a community, and that has to be always in mind. If you don't go, if you make fun of this activity, if you do it in a bad way, it's not you, it's the community that is receiving this activity, this energy, this disposition to dream or to think that they can be in a better world the day of tomorrow.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Lucero. You gave your precious time and give your precious time to me as an interview, and it was a wonderful session with you. I love to talk with you. Thank you so much. You take out some precious time from your meetings, and you came here on my show. Thank you so much again. We have to end our session here as it's too late here in Pakistan. So good night from Pakistan, and have a good day.
Thank you, Munim. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you so
for the
much. Bye bye.
invitation.
Take care.
Bye bye.